They are storing some data, but they are not sure about the data. Already I told you we have cookies. I stored a cookie with expiry date 5 days. Will it stay for 5 days? Not sure. Due to any technical reason, your system has performed cleanup and deleted all the temporary files. That cookie also deleted. Suppose accidentally you deleted your history, then the cookie is deleted. That means even its lifetime is 5 days, it may be deleted in 1 day. And what data is stored when it is updated, we are not sure. Developers are not sure about the data which they are trying to use from the memory. The speciality of this Redux is it is predictable. Exactly it tells what is there in memory. When it will be modified, you can know as a developer easily. For a developer, the important point is, how do I know what data is present? How do I know when the data is being modified? How do I know whether data is provided to certain applications or not? All this requires good debugging. All this requires good tracking of state, which is not there in general approach. That means you create use state, or just now you created use context. If I ask you as a developer, can you tell me what is the data stored in context? What is the data stored in context? You can't tell until or unless you are the developer. Means you designed the context, you know what is stored in context. But every developer can predict the state. You haven't designed, but you know exactly what is present. You haven't designed, but you know what is present. You know when it will update. You know where it is present. Everything you can track as a developer. So this is not a facility for this is not a facility for user. This is a facility for developers. Developers use this state container because it is predictable. So the developer exactly knows where the data is. He exactly knows what data is. He exactly knows when data is being updated. That I will show you. You can even track it. That means as a developer, you can clearly see the complete tracking. That means what data is there, when it is being updated. Even it will provide a complete graph to you. That is the advantage. That is why these are features. That means they say that it will make easy to trace when, where, why, and how your application state is changed. That means developer can know when it is changing, where it is changing, why it is changing. Because all these days, developers don't have a clarity. Even today, some state managements we don't know. That means we are not sure where the data is. We are not sure how data is modified. We are not sure about them. But now it is clear. It is clear. And see, it says that Redux developer tools will make it easy to trace. That means it is completely a library designed for developers. Designed for developers. That is the main concept. And what is meant by centralized? Centralized means you can store at one place and you can access from anywhere. Actually, it is having a lengthy hierarchy. I will tell you about the hierarchy later. Just a overview I will give you here, because currently we are not dealing with Redux. We are using, similar to Redux, a new concept in React called use reducer. Use reducer. Actually, it works with this mechanism. Redux has phases. These are the Redux related important phases. These are the Redux related important phases. That's the basic phase actually. Redux related important phases are these. Actually, what happens is we will have a store. Means actually this will start from here. It will start from here. That means we will create a store. In that store, we will keep some data. How to access the data? How to access the data? By using state. By using a state, we access the data present in store and give it to component. Component means UI. To the UI component, we give it. That means we keep some data in store and that data is accessed by state. By using state, you can access and use in component. After that, if you are making any changes, it will identify the changes by using actions. That means on click, on change, some actions. On actions, it will identify any change happened in the data. After identifying the changes, it will update those changes. By using a reducer, it will update those changes into the store. That means now developer exactly knows what data is being stored because he can see the store. Developer can tell when data is updated because he can see the actions also. He can see the actions also when it is updated. User clicked updated or drop down changed updated or component load updated. When it is updated, he can identify that. So this repeats now. This cycle rotates. We are storing the data and providing to component. Component is using the data, updating, and that updated data is sent to again store, right? And very important, what is the advantage of this is actually it can maintain several levels. Later I will explain in Redux concept. Usually we use this kind of mechanism for session management, application management. Generally, this is required for two things. It is required for managing session and application state for component, session and application state for React application. So that is what we can do. It is required for managing session and application state for React application. What is meant by session state? What is meant by application state? We have two options: session state and application state. Actually, application state scope will be from application start to application end. Application start to end. Application state scope will be from application start to application end. That means once the application started, the state will start, and once application ends, it will end. Another one is session. Session state scope will be from session start to session end. Session start to session end. What is meant by application and session start? I will tell you one simple example for that. For example, can you name any applications? Can you name any applications in such a way that they start at some time and they end every day? Any website have date, any website have time limitations? Can you name any websites that have time limitations? That means other than that time, they will not work. Have you seen such websites? Websites having certain time limitations. That means Other than that time, they will not work. You can't access them. Any such websites, so many websites will be there. So many websites will be in such a way that they start certain time and end certain time. For example, online exams. When any online exam application is working, that means they have certain time. They will say that tomorrow it will start and for 1-2 hours it will work. Then within that you have to use it, right? That means when it starts, when it ends. Usually web applications never end. That means 24/7 they are working. That means a website never stops. But there can be some applications which reset every day or every few days. That means they start and they end. That is what actually application state. Application start, application end. You see such websites, when exam starts, immediately at the bottom, they will show that these many people are currently writing. Means live users, how many? 10 users, 20 users, 100 users, how many people are currently visiting? How many people are currently watching? Once exam finished, that count will reset. Next day when exam starts, again count is fresh. That means again count is fresh. 1, 2, 3, 4. That means until the application ends, the count is maintained. Once the application ends, the count is removed. That means data is maintained from application start to application end. That means on particular time that application starts, memory is allocated. Some data is stored. How much time the data will be there? Until the application ends. Until application ends, you can access from anywhere and use it. That is called as application state. Now let's go to session state. Session state is nothing but, suppose you are making a flight ticket booking or bus ticket booking or a train ticket booking. Now, once you start booking, they will give you 5 minutes time. Within the 5 minutes time, you do the transaction. Otherwise, you are removed. You are removed. For that 5 minutes, they block your details. You blocked some seats for 5 minutes, they are blocked. That means you are not making any transaction. From another computer you open, you will see that those 2 seats are filled because they blocked it for you. And within the 5 minutes, you are not doing the transaction. The data allocated for you is removed. Right? That means this is not application start, application end. Application is already started. One user logs in and he logs out. He starts transaction, finishes transaction. This is called as what? Session. That means suppose you logged into Facebook. That is, you started your Facebook app using the Facebook application. So application starts. When you log out Facebook, then application ends. So after you log in, you started a live video. That means you started a session. And how many people are watching that video? You will see the count. 10 people are watching, 20 people are watching, like that. It will show that. And that count is automatically updating until the video is live. Once the video is off, then count will reset. It will just keep the final information that this video was broadcasted this minute time back and these many people viewed it. But the live count, it will be incrementing, decrementing. One person join, then it will say 4 people are watching. One person gone, then it will say 3 people are watching. That count is only until the video ends. That means how many people are watching, that information is maintained from video start to video end. This is called session. Session. You see YouTube. In YouTube, how many people watched this video? That is not session, application. Why? Because you close. then the view count is standard. It completely continuously growing. It is not live video. How many customers are watching? That is what session. YouTube videos live. How many people are watching? That is session. And how many people till now watched your video? That is application. It will not reset. It will be continuous until you remove that video. It will be there from application start to application end. That is the two different states actually. This is very huge concept. People learn about this state management as a concept for several days in their technologies. In their technologies means usually while learning Java, .NET, PHP, Python, server-side technologies. It's a very big concept. And this is a major concept in real-time applications at server side. You are currently learning client side, right? State management is very huge concept, very major concept for a web application, especially server side. Only client side not enough. Client side state management is not enough. Server side we need state management. That is done in another way. Everywhere terminology will be similar, right? So here, what use reducer can do? It can manage two states. It can manage application state as well as session state. It can manage the state. We will see one option, how this works. That means how the concept works. Means how the concept of this reducer is going to work. For example, it has so many things to perform. So that reducer contains so many options. I will give some technical points also first. Actually, use reducer comprises of following components to handle state. It comprises of following components to handle state. What are those components? It will have a store. It will have state. It will have actions. And it will have reducer. These are the basic things: store, state, actions, and reducer. What is store is nothing but store is the location where data is kept. State is used to access the data from store and provide to UI, user interface. Actions trigger the functionality. Actions trigger the functionality in UI. And updates the changes to reducer. Update the changes to reducer. Reducer verifies the changes by using previous value and current value. This is the algorithm I already told you. If previous value is equal to current value, what does it means? Previous value is equal to current value. That means no change detected. If previous value is not equal to current value, some change detected. How reducer knows change happened or not? By using this mechanism. So reducer verifies the changes by using previous value and current value. After that, it stores, it updates the data. It updates the data into store. It updates the data into store. So again, from store, it will go to state, from state to action, action to reducer, and reducer. This cycle rotates. Roughly, you can take this cycle. That is the rough cycle it happens. This is updates. It updates the data to the store, right? And this is the rough process, how it happens. A rough diagram, you can just roughly make a note of that. So how it works. So that is the basic flow. It will start from the store. Data is kept in the store. We access by using state. And we display in the UI, then actions this. Actually, Redux uses this at high level with lot of external library. It will maintain this. But you don't need that in the modern React because people don't know all this. That's the reason always they are concerned about Redux because they don't know this, right? So people who know this in many application areas, they just implement this. And if they are not satisfied with these features, what they have, then they will go with additional library like Redux, right? At large scale applications where state requires to manage a lot of data, then we recommend to use Redux. Otherwise, you don't need Redux. You can just manage using reducer also. So you see how this is going to work. That means the process I will tell you. So how this is going to work. So let's say an example. I will add another component here. Redux demo. Actually, reducer demo. This is Redux demo.jsx. Let's create a function here. So export function Redux demo. That is the function. And just here we are keeping a simple container fluid. And here we are defining some text. Roughly I kept here is, so say YouTube live, something like this. I just define some container here. Let's keep just style. I will keep height of the container as 200 pixel. I will just add some text. And this, suppose this is having an iframes and all, you can use later roughly. I will put a simple paragraph saying that, so live video, so video, something live video is buffering there. So we will just put class name border, so border primary, so border 1, so padding 3, like this we define. And here we are adding this Redux demo. Redux demo, that is the one we are having. That's a simple option we are using. Now, suppose in this, what we are doing is we are having a simple container, and or at the top, I will maintain another container. Class margin bottom 3, and here, so live viewers, how many are there? So we will display the count, how many viewers are there later. And here we have a button, say join video, join and we have some button called exit. So we have some buttons there, join and exit. Now what should happen is margin top 2 or 3 like this. Yeah. And let's say class BTN primary, and class BTN danger. Now what should happen here is margin S2. Let's gap. Now when I click on join, it should add me to the viewers list. That means it should say count 1. One person is watching. When I say exit, then it should remove me from the users list. That means it should say that the user closed. That means 0 users are currently watching. Remember, this I am showing in one screen for your understanding. Usually what happens, that video component is separate. The video comes from another component. This join will happen from another component. From another component, you will join and come to this video. I am keeping everything in one screen to make you understand. Actually, this join and exit are present in another screen. In that screen, you will ask username and join. And when they enter username and join, then it will come to this component. Here, it has to maintain that information. That means user will join from another component. That information it should maintain. If user is joining from another component, how application knows? Because it is now centralizing the data. It will keep the data centrally so that you can access from any component and you can use. It is not cookie, but it is accessible across components. It is not a cookie, but you can access across components. It is not context because it is not for parent child. It is available to across components. That is possible by using what? Use reducer. That means here, first thing, you have to maintain an initial state. First, I will declare initial state. Initial state, usually initial state is an object. It is having count. Count is initially how much? 0. That means what is the data you want to maintain in the store? I want to maintain how many viewers are currently watching. That means viewers count. We want to maintain. Count is the data you want to keep in store. Now the question is, that is the first thing actually. What is the data to keep in store? The data to keep in store is count. And when this count will be updated, when user joins, how many actions are there? 2 actions are there. When user join, count is updated. The exit count, that means 2 actions are present. What are those actions? Join action, another one, exit. On join, state should update. Exit, state should update. How many actions this reducer have to manage? Reducer have to manage 2 actions. One is join, another one exit. So what you have to do is, we have to create a function. So we have to create a function by name reducer. We have to create a reducer function. This reducer function have 2 values. It will have 2 values. One it is state, another one is action. Now we will mention here simply, we will configure as a switch. Into the switch, we will pass the action type. Action is an object which contains type. Type indicates, is it join or is it exit? Now we will write a case here. What is the case? If case is what? Join. If case is join, what should happen? It should return state. It should return an object. So that means this object contains, that means actually this contains what? Count. It should contain the count. That means this should return an object. What is the object it should return? It should return the object state dot count. It should return count object. This count object should update the count. That means you can simply write here, you can simply configure as what? Count. Count is a reference. In the count reference, what we have to do? State dot what? Count and count plus 1. Like this, we can increment. Right? We can configure that and define. But usually this state is not configured yet. Means we don't have a state initially defined. So when you define the state, we can configure the state and mention it. 1 second. Yep. So here, what is the point is, we need to maintain the count. Count should be how much? Whatever the state value is there, count plus 1, increment by 1. So it's just count should increment by 1. How do we increment by 1? Is state dot what? Count plus 1. That's only the value it should return. Next, after this, another case. What is it? Exit. On exit, what should happen? It should return what? Count. That should be state dot count minus 1. It should decrement by 1. That is the basic option. That means now state dot count contains information about how many people are using. That means remember, count is stored in the store. And who can access that count? See the diagram. Who can access that count? Count can be accessed by state. That means whatever data is present in store can be accessed by whom? State. What is the data we kept in store? The data we kept in store is what? Count. And who can access that count? State. And where to update it? In the UI. In the UI, it has to update. So what we will do here? So we will update that here. That means how many people are using. We will keep that information here. So we can access that by using state. By using state dot what? Count. We can access that. But when it should be updated, the count should be updated when user clicks on join button. That means this reducer must be used by our component. Our component should use the reducer. That means our component should use this reducer so that it can identify which action is triggered and it can update. Then how our component can use reducer? By using a hook. We have a constant. In the constant, you need 2 people. One is actually the constant requires an option called state. Another one, it needs a dispatch. Dispatch. It is going to use reducer. Use reducer is imported from the React library. This reducer is expecting reducer function. What is the reducer function we created? Reducer. That is the reducer function. And it is asking initial state. What is the state? We have to access state. That means what use reducer can do? It can access the initial state. In initial state, what is present? Count. It can access the count. Okay, it will access the count. After that, it has to dispatch action. when it should dispatch the action. That means it should dispatch the action on button click. So we need two functions. What are those functions? Handle what? Handle one is join click, that is join click. Another one, handle what? Handle exit click. We have two actions, join click and exit click. So these are functions. We have to write function handle click and function exit click. Now on join click, what should dispatch? We have to dispatch and type as, what is the type? Join. Then our application knows that they clicked the join button. On join dispatch, what it will do? It will identify that action is join and it will increment the count. And if the type is dispatch is, if dispatch type, what is the type of dispatch? If it is exit, then what will happen? It will go to this exit and it will reduce the count. And where that count is being displayed, it is displayed here on button click, on click. We have to use handle what? Join click. Here on click, what we have to do? Handle what? Exit click. These are the options. That means how many users are currently watching? 0. Currently users, how many are watching? 0. I click on join, then one user is there. I click on exit, then again 0. I click on join, one user joined. Another click, again joined. That 2 people, 3 people, this is. Different people are joining, it is maintaining the count. And exit, then it will exit that here. It will be incrementing and decrementing the values. We can write the conditions depending on that. That means now this data is stored in the memory and you can access and use from any component. If from one component they will join, we will use in another component. This is internally managed by React. Earlier, people don't know all this. People used to use Redux for this, right? That means even to handle this kind of scenario, they used to use Redux. But now we can simply manage that by using Reducer. Redux gives more higher hierarchy, means it gives more features, more functions, more components which can manage the state. At large scale, complex applications you are dealing, complex data you have to manage, then you can go with that. Otherwise, you can simply manage by using this mechanism. So this is the concept of managing the state using a concept called reducer. This is example for reducer demo dot what? JSX. This is reducer demo dot JSX. I will actually given as Redux demo. Redux demo dot JSX. This is the concept. How we can manage the data. This is a simple example for that. Configuring the state. You have seen cookies, you have seen context, and you have seen reducers, how to use them. These are very important, the new hooks that you will see regularly in React application, right? Now, once you are aware of this basic state management, how it works, in order to use Redux, you need to create a separate environment again. You have to install Redux, work with Redux. Before going to that, now we will discuss one more concept. That means now we will go into the concept of, we will learn about another point, that is React material. We'll see into React material. That means how we can make our UI more better by adding like Bootstrap React material, how we can create. If I show 1-2 components, others you can try by yourself, because these are all third-party components. Hundreds will be there, just like Bootstrap. You have Bootstrap, navbar, carousels, dialog boxes, date pickers, like that. Here also so many. Depends on your requirement, you can use them. Instead of using Bootstrap, you can use React material for components, right? That is a material library for designing good interfaces. that we'll see in next session, right? Then we will go into TypeScript. After TypeScript, I will show you a project means a small application with Redux and TypeScript. Then it will be finished. That complete idea will come, right? We will see that in the next session, right? So tomorrow we'll continue. Right? Meanwhile, you practice the complete example, huh? Because if you have any doubts, we can check that. Okay, tomorrow we'll see.